My name is Sarah, and today I'll be doing the book review and season 1 review of Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo. We'll get straight into the spoilers for the book. I give the book a 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed this world so much, and seeing it come to life on the TV show, I was like, why have I been sitting on this world for so long? For those of you who don't know, this is the Grishaverse, where in this world we have certain people with abilities that are called Grisha. And so there's 3 types. There are those who can control elements. Either you can control water, fire, or wind. I always question why there wasn't any earth, but I'm just going to go with it. Then there are those who can basically control functions of the human body, the ones that can manipulate how fast, slow, or silence your heart, or how to help with the healing process. And the last but not least, that are very the underdogs and overlooked, are the ones that can manipulate materials, so like fabrics, metals, those kinds of things. And we have 2 armies, the first army and the Grisha are the second army, and we are in a different world compared to ours. They have different countries, and the country we focus on in the first book is the country of Ravka, and it's kind of split into, not by a solid wall, but a wall made out of shadows called the Shadowfold. And basically we need the second army to get through there because, you know, the country in the north want to kill us, the country in the south, that's a real mystery because all we know about is the country up north, Fjorda, but Shuhan down in the south, I'm like, this is like a mystery country because we don't know that much about them. Our main character, her name is Alina. She joined the first army. She is a map maker, and she's with her childhood friend, best friend, secretly in love with, Mal, who is a tracker. And I have to say about Alina, her attitude through this whole first part of this book was like, chill, because she's almost like that character that, yes, secretly in love with Mal, her childhood best friend, but every time she like thinks of him with like another woman or something, it's like you can feel the one-sided love so much. I'm like, wow, girl, let's take it down a notch. Well, they go through the fold to try to get some supplies out to the western half of Ravka, and that doesn't go so well. But at the same time, because, you know, there's monsters, Fulcra, creatures, bat-like, in the fold, and we're getting attacked, people are dying. That was really a surprise in the beginning part of this book, people dying, like in chapter 2 to 3. Well, Alina, because she is our main protagonist, she's our heroine, she unleashes her inner power that she didn't know that she had, and she's Grisha, but she is what is called a summoner. She can summon the light, and that gets a lot of people's attention, especially the one in charge of the second army, the Darkling, whose ability, like hers, is one of a kind because he can control shadows, and he believes with her we can get rid of the fold. So like I said, the Darkling, okay, it feels like a tile that's inherited down through the bloodline, finds out that Alina is, you know, the Sun Summoner, and of course we can't have her dying because she's the only one, so he sends her to what's called the Little Palace, where basically all the Grisha that are discovered are sent there to start training to, you know, become members of the second army. During this journey we do get an interaction with Fjordans, part of Fjord, the country up north, and they see, you know, the Grisha as witches, so must die, and they're going after Alina specifically. Well, she is, you know, being guarded by 2 heart renderers, the ones that control the hearts, Ivan and Fedor, I think that was his name. And of course, those are the more highly respected, more privileged in the second army, because I guess there's not that much, and their power is more powerful than, you know, the ones that can control the elements, or the ones that can make things out of the impossible. And Alina almost dies, but of course the Darkling shows up and he shows his shadow abilities because, you know, power and everything. And this is where we get information through the Darkling on how the Shadowfold was made, because his ancestor, the Black Heretic, was the one that created it out of power, out of greed. And I liked how they did this in the book more than the TV show. I'll get into that during my part of the TV. And we see a vulnerability, because it makes it feel like the Darkling, because we never find out his name, and this whole book has this huge responsibility and expectations on his shoulders, because he is of the bloodline of the Black Heretic that created the Fold. And he kind of makes it feel like it's his duty that before he dies, he has to do something to get rid of the Shadowfold. And here's Alina, the beacon of hope to all civilization of Ravka, and he feels like this can actually happen. So in a way, that kind of makes a bond between the two in a way. It's kind of lean on each other because they understand all the pressure that's going to be put on them this go around. We make it to the capital of East Ravka, Osalta, and I got a very Earth Kingdom vibe with the walls, because we have to go through many checkpoints before getting into the nice part of the capital where the king and the royal family live. So it's like very, Earth Kingdom with Russian style, because I know that this is basically Tsarist Russia based. So it's like, oh, that's cool, because I'm kind of familiar with that. And it's also Earth Kingdom. It's like, interesting. And we go to the inner part of the noble area, and that's where we get to the little palace that, as I said, is where all the Grisha are. We are introduced to a new character named Genya, who I very much loved through this book, because she knows what's going on. She understands her situation as a Grisha, as a lady to the queen, and also kind of like a pet. She understands everything, but she's been in the court for so long, she knows how to work this system and switch it in her favor. It also helps that she is a Grisha, but she is a tailor, which means she can alter appearances, and that's very rare for a Grisha. So of course the queen, who wants to look all youthful and everything, I liked Genya like in the moment we met her, because Elena, she's been there overnight, she's like, I'm too tired to take a bath and everything. I've been almost killed twice, and we've been on a long journey. I've been on a horse non-stop. I want to sleep. And she slept in her filthy clothes and everything. And here comes Genya knocking on the door, and Elena's like, who is it? And Genya's like, we don't have time for this. Open up. We got a lot of work to do. She basically pushes her way in. She's like, okay, we gotta take care of this. Oh my god, I don't have that much time. And Elena's like, what's going on? She's like, I gotta present you to the king in like this certain amount of time, so we gotta hurry up. I'm like, my heart. But we do present ourselves to the king, and very nice looking uniform, because the king thinks that's what the first army people look like. And with the help of the Darkling, Elena is able to present her light, and we have permission to train. Like, just don't go sending her into the Shadowfold expecting her to go wah. No, we have to practice, because we figured out that with the Darkling by our side, we can make the light happen, but by ourselves, Elena's like, yeah, I need a little bit more time. The one character I was wholly sus about was the Holy Priest, the Apparat. And again, this is inspired by Tsarist Russia, who is a holy man during that time that was trouble. I'm just saying, he also gave that creepy vibe, especially when he met Elena like once, and then was lurking in the shadows. I was like, Rasputin, is that you? But it's, again, the apparatus. Like, I don't trust you, especially with this weird indeed encounter, and just like staring at her from a distance. I'm like, what is going on? Elena does begin her lessons with a mentor named Bagra, who is that master that doesn't care about your feelings and knows what the job must be and get it done. So she does not hold any punches when teaching Elena. You're the sun summoner. Ooh, you're a sad girl with no family that died and you're raised in an orphanage and you lost your best friend. Okay, that's just you. Do you want that to be all of the children of Ravka? No. Pam, let's get to work. I'm like, you go ahead, Elena. I'm just gonna sit here in this corner and let y'all do you, because she doesn't need another firebender, Fernie, or anything. And we see, because this is all first point of view person, we see that Alina, she's still trying to figure out her position in the little palace, because everyone's, you know, greets her. You have the, you know, the element summoners and the heart people and body manipulators who kind of are fighting over her. One, because they think she's more elemental, while the other saying that she is more close with the Darkling and we are closest with him. So she's kind of in that void. She feels like, you know, since she hasn't been with the Grisha since she of a young age, because we find out that children are tested, and you know, she didn't want to get separated from Mal, so she kind of suppressed her inner abilities, and so she was raised with the regular people. But now that she's thrust into this world of Grisha, she doesn't have any footing, especially when it comes to training. And the mentor for the training really gets on her because she's very far behind, and she kind of feels more of an outcast in a way, because she just doesn't feel like she fits with the Grisha, and doesn't help with Baghra being very reminding of her that we need to train you to help take out the Shadow Fold. We have an encounter with one of the Grisha, a young lady named Zoya. We got some cameos from her in the beginning of the book because she was checking out Mal, and she's jealous of Alina being close to the Darkling because she was the one that used to be close to him. So they are in a sparring match, and this has been some time since, you know, Alina's done her training, so she knows how to defend herself properly. On the offensive, she's still learning that, but she knows how to defend. She does manage to get one on Zoya, and Zoya doesn't like that. And during the ring, because sometimes in Grisha they use visual and hand movements, and the enemy knows how to basically take care of that situation, so the Grisha needs to know how to fight hand-to-hand combat. Well, to do that, you can't use your abilities. But because Zoya didn't like what Alina did, she does use her ability. She does her wind ability, and we're reminded again how precious Alina is, because we can't have the only sun summoner dying now, can we, Zoya? So she gets a little red card on that one. We have a moment between the Darkling and Baghra, because we have that classic mentor former student bickering where they're just arguing with one another how to train Alina, and Baghra's like saying, you know, we can't rush her in anything, and the Darkling says we should get her an amplifier, and Alina's all for that, because we find out that some Grisha have what are called amplifiers, certain totem items that belong to powerful animals or creatures, and the only way how to get that is to kill them, and once the Grisha kills them, that power that belongs to that creature amplifies their abilities to make them more stronger. And we get it, Alina is making some progress with her training, but it feels like she can do more, so the Darkling wants to get her an amplifier. And what better than that from one of the powerful creatures in existence? That would be the Movasova stag. I believe that's the significant, the iconic white stag, and with its antlers, we can boost Alina's abilities tenfold. So Alina's like, yes, let's do that, and the Darkling's more than happy to oblige on that, while Baghra's like, no, you need to learn through your own pressures and powers to, you know, get stronger. It's like, yeah, Baghra, great, but we're also getting peer pressure on this side as well. Through this whole book, close to the end of the halfway marker, we find out that Alina's been sending letters to Mal, but he hasn't been returning them back. And through Genya, we find out where he's stationed, and that's kind of the place where Alina's been sending the letters. So she figures maybe Mal no longer cares about me. Maybe he's done with me now that I'm Grisha, and that kind of like that's like the last tether to her old past, her old self. And now when it's finally cut, Alina has more control of her abilities, because he was the reason why she had suppressed her ability in the beginning, and she didn't know she was Grisha. But without him anymore, she fully accepts her powers, and in a way that also allows her to fit in with the Grisha at the little palace, because she's no longer afraid to show her abilities. She's now working well with the element summoner people, who now like kind of accept her. Everyone's more chill around her now that she no longer is holding back. There's a slight mention of the Crown Prince and the second prince through Genya, because we do see like a little snippet of the Crown Prince, and he's not really all that impressive, because we find out how the Grisha and the Darkling feel about the king. Not very good. But again, the Crown Prince isn't any better, and Genya mentions something about the second prince, how we haven't seen him as much. And I'm like thinking, second prince who decided to join the infantry, who's interested in shipbuilding, blacksmithing, that kind of stuff, and based off of Tsarist Russia. Let's go a little bit further back in time. Why does this guy sound like Peter? I'm like a fellow named Peter. I'm just saying maybe we should be on the lookout for the second prince. Every Grisha has a color that they wear on their kefta, their outfit, and Elena's been wearing blue, which are for, you know, the element summoners. But during this grand ball where they show off their presentations to the royal family and the nobles and the people of influence, that day Elena decides to wear black, which is the Darklings colors, because they became oh so close with one another. Elena and the Darkling do their presentation with the darkness and the light, and everyone's like, oh, the Saintess and everything, and maybe we can actually defeat the Fold and everything. And like everything's going great, as you can tell, at this party, until, you know, Darkling pulls Elena to the side and they do a smooch, because they did a kiss earlier. I'm like, fine, feels not earned in a way, because their relationship I don't feel like has bloomed at this level. But I'm like, okay, I'll let this go. The buffet looks delicious. You'll find me over there. The Darkling has some news to tend to, and he leaves Elena alone for a second, where the apparat tries to warn her over something. Again, we haven't had much interaction with this guy, but he sounded genuinely afraid for this split second, where I'm thinking maybe I judged him too quickly. And Elena, that's when she finds out that the news that the Darkling was tending to was a group of trackers that had found the stag, and that's where she sees Maul for the very first time in months. And we now know that the Darkling had Maul and his unit to track down the stag, because Elena basically said Maul can make bunnies appear out of anything. He was the spectacular tracker that everyone wanted, and of course the Darkling wanted him to find the stag. And we have this tense reunion, because Elena's all happy he's there, he's not happy, and she's like, did you ever get my letters? And like, what letters? Because he sent her letters too. And they just have this weird interaction where they just get mad at each other, heat in the moment, and it's like, I'm done with you kind of thing. I was like, yeah, okay, let's take a look here. Elena, you didn't get his letters. Mal, you didn't get her letters. Maybe we should take this into a different hallway and find out why none of us got each other's letters, because that's very sus in the most highest level. So let's just go over there. But no, they don't. They just get into a bickering fight. Elena wants to be alone at night, but you know, the Darkling might visit her for comforting. But luckily Bagra shows up and it smuggles Elena out, basically saying, I never thought he would actually find the stag. And Elena thinking, oh, Bagra's probably fallen off of her rocker. But no, Bagra's like saying he will use that, he will kill the stag himself, give you the antlers to control you. And she's like, why would he do that? He wants to get rid of the Fold. Like, no, he was the one that made the Fold. It's like, no, the Black Heretic made the Fold. It's like, no, he is the Black Heretic. And of course Elena doesn't believe Bagra until Bagra shows her ability, because I believe the Darkling had said she was a tide maker, but no, she is like the Darkling. She controls shadows. She is his mother, meaning they've been alive for hundreds of years, people. That does not look good, especially if now we find out that the Darkling wants to control Elena. And how long will he need her? Meaning he can need her for centuries. And if he's still alive from back then, and here it's like, ooh, we have a problem. So of course Bagra does do the thing, and Julie do the thing. She does the thing and gets Elena out of the little palace and basically says, go west and get as far away from here. I have people already alerted to know that you're coming. So once you get over the Fold to Western Ravka, get on the ship. It'll take you to safety, but after that you're on your own. I'll take care of things from here. It's like, let's go. Elena does manage to get away from little palace, and she's getting closer to the scaffold, and we've been a week on our own, very successful, until we run into a drunken soldier who recognizes her, and she has to use her abilities to escape, and luck happens to be smiling upon us because she has Maul save her, lead the trackers away, and we are on a quiet journey out of civilization, and that's where we finally talk. We hear through what Maul's been going through and what Alina's been going through at the little palace. We actually have some communication. We find out that the unit that Maul went with, they went up to Fjorda to find the stag, and how now he kind of feels how the first army feels towards the second army, because they were basically sent over, and they could have just actually waited, but you know, just trying to impress the Darkling and everything, and the pressure of the second army. And Alina decides we need to get to the stag before the Darkling does, so I can claim its power for myself as a form of protection. So we do go looking for the stag. The only problem is that when we do find the stag and Alina doesn't kill it, she has this weird connection to it. And you know, it's that moment, beautiful moment between, you know, the spirit of the forest. That's what it kind of reminded me of. But the Darkling does show up. The Darkling does kill the stag, claiming the power as his, and he forces it upon Alina, meaning now not only does she have the amplified ability, but the Darkling can control her, and to keep her in check, we keep Mal alive, which is like a smart thing to do. And that smartness is thrown out the window because we make it back to the Shadowfold where the army is camped, and we plan to go into the fold with some delegates from Shuhan, Fjorda, some people from Kerch who are, you know, on the islands far into the sea to give out the demonstration. And what I mean by that smartness was thrown out the window is because the Darkling's form of mercy for Mal is to have him come with them into the fold and leave him in the fold to die by the Voldemort. I'm sorry. I gave you a point for your smartness of using Mal as a tool against Alina, but I will, you know, just get rid of that one and add it to your stupidity because you're a little butthurt that Alina cares more for Maul than you. We go through the fold. The Darkling has control of Alina, so we're giving off a great presentation. But when we make it to the other side of the fold, the town that's there to greet them gets wiped out because the Darkling controls the fold to display his power as well as Alina's, and basically wipes everyone out in that town. And here's the news. I have control of the fold and the Sun Summoner, and y'all will no longer attack Grishakind. We are now in control, so if you think of fighting us ever again, I can expand the fold to your territories whenever, because he also wants to liberate the Grisha who have been serving, you know, the king and the humans this entire time as well. We also bring out Mal, and he is thrown overboard, and they're bringing in the light, and Alina's freaking out, but then she remembers that moment, this dreamlike state where she was with the stag, and how it chose her at that moment, and she actually has control of the amplifier herself, and she breaks hold of the Darkling. She gets to Mal, she stops the lie, and she knows that in doing so everyone on the boat, on the skiff, is gonna die, but it's her and Mal, and they manage to make it out of the Shadowfold. And you know, we have that eerie warning from the Darkling, so we know that villain is still there waiting for us. And the book ends off with Maul and Alina on a ship to the sea, knowing that one day we're going to return back to Ravka to help its people, but until then we must do things on our own. So, yay! That's the end of spoilers. Now, on to the TV show. Yes, I know we were introduced to characters from the other books and everything, but I will be basing the show off of the book, okay? I will be basing the show off of the book, so the scenes that happened with everyone else from the other books, those do not count, okay? But I will admit my curiosity has been piqued. The show as itself, I give it 5 out of 5 stars, and as a adaptation from the first book, again, minus everyone else, I give it a 4 out of 5 stars, because This show was amazing, people. Pros. The scenery, the set, the special effects, the clothing, the script. I loved it. The casting, I loved it. How further in we got into this world than the book, because again, the book was a POV of Elena's point of view. It was first person. It just expanded everything on it. I was like, wow, I love this show, especially after finishing the first episode. I was like, next episode, next episode. This was too short, next episode. I loved the actress they played as Lena, and I kind of like how they changed her personality, because her relationship and Mal, we actually see this bond between them. They really do care with one another, and Alina, she does have feelings, but not that kind of aggressive towards it. She knows she kind of has them, but it feels more like a camaraderie bond that does eventually progress into a legit romantic relationship that I really appreciate very, very much. Mal. Okay, we didn't get that much from him in the first book until we got close to the halfway end marker, where he was all tight, but here we get an introductory to him, and again, you see this relationship with him and Alina and the people that he's with. It's like, this guy, again, these are people that you can easily become friends with, have these deep bonds with, and obviously want to have their back and go through the thick and thin, which was shown because there were these characters in the book I completely forgot about because they weren't that important, but we saw them in the introductory with Mal, and I was like, oh, it's those guys, Mikhail and Dubrov, and it's like, I'm not gonna care about them. 10 seconds later, oh my god, this show made me care about them, and it's like, I'm gonna be sad because they're the regiment people that died in the book, because when I mean how we see how they have their backs, because they easily get along with Alina, because people don't like Alina in the beginning because she's apparently, I guess we find this later out in the books, she looks Shuhan, she's half Shuhan, and this mystery country of Shuhan that again isn't really explored except for Fjorda, we know we're at war with them as well, and people really don't like Alina because she has more Shuhan features. But when Mikhail and Dubrov see her, that's not their first reaction when they see her. They see her and they're like, oh, so you're Mal's little friend. He always talks about you. And they just automatically accept her. It's like, oh, I like this relationship. And when Mal volunteers to go looking for this, well, first of all, he tries to escape at night to go rescue Alina, because we find out that they were attacked by the Fjordans, and they basically talk sense into him. They say the best way how not to get court-martialed and shot is become a hero, win some medals, make some achievements on the battlefield, and that's the only way how you can get close to Darkling, to get close to Alina. And they're looking out for him. They talk sense into him, and they basically say, we got your back on this. And when they go looking for the stag, they're like, did you honestly think we'd let you go by yourself? And they both put their bags on the bed, fully packed. I was like, I care about them. No! The Darkling. First of all, we get a name, General Kirigan. It's like, okay, I don't know, I can go with this. Because calling him the Darkling the whole first book was kind of tiring. Calling him Kirigan, because it's a military thing, him saying that Alina can call him by his first name, but I like how we have a name to the face. And the actor that played him, I could feel the charm and the irritation in him, because we see him working a charm with Alina, making her kind of, you know, relate to him, and in a way how they were paired with one another, I could feel again the relationship. But what is wrong with just, why does it have to be romantic? It's like whenever he opens up to her and she kind of sympathizes with him, why can't it be friends? Why can't we just be friends? But when he sees Mal and Mal doesn't give him what he wants, you could see that slight loose of control. Y'all saw that twitch. Y'all saw that twitch when he didn't get his way. I was like, I loved it so much. I liked how we got to see more of the apparatus, because when it came to the amplifiers, they were shown through the Grisha that we just met after Elena was revealed to be Grisha, the apparatus, it made a little bit more sense that the holy man that has control, has his fingers in the court, would know about, first of all, the stag, because that sounds like a religious thing, a religious story, and the amplifiers, because it also pertains between religion and the Grisha. So of course the apparatus would know that, and he gives her this information, Elena. So when he kind of warns Elena about faith, they already have this stepping stone to fall back on, because he also gives her the Book of Saints, because people are looking at her as a saint. And again, we just have this moment with the apparatus to establish this relationship between the two, which makes it more understandable and more holding water to how she would kind of take his warning more seriously than just this creepy guy looming around in the shadows. And I think just, again, the thing about this show, when it comes to the characters themselves, is relationships, making certain things more believable than in the book. So, you know, the betrayals, the reveals, the reunions. I felt more attached to these characters than I did in the book, so I was more worried about them in the show. And I cannot wait for season 2. Now for the cons, they're kind of a little bit nitpicky actually, because the things that they did change in the show that made it work. The nitpicky things I have are, first of all, the segment about the Darkling. Okay, so we were told through Bagra, you know, greed was what made him make the shadow full, because he wanted control, and that was basically the payment. I don't like how they made him backed into a corner and like, this is the only way how to save my people, and it was out of a good judgment thing that backfired on him. And he seemed desperate when he put the amplifier on Elena, that this is the best way possible. Like, and he saw that vulnerability on him. I was like, I don't know. I liked it better when I thought he was a greedy guy, but seeing him as this person that try and make a good choice and a bad outcome happen, he's just been trying all this time to fix it. I didn't like that. And I didn't like how it made the Shadowfold feel like it was only there for like 10 to 20 years, while it felt like it's been there for centuries in the book. It's like, so it made everything feel like weird. I wouldn't say rushed, but it just felt convenient. And how in the book it was the Darkling, Kiergan, who revealed that, you know, it was his great-great-great-grandfather who made the Shadowfold. Well, it feels like it's public information taught in schools, like, because we have this moment with him and Elena at a fountain that showed the story, and she was able to easily recite it. I have a feeling that was for, you know, the audience. But I liked it better when like it showed his woundedness in the book, while this is like, it just felt like a taught lesson. I don't like how they rushed the training with Bagra. I have a feeling that they could have actually made an extra episode to Elena and her struggles on how to not only learn to fight but also harness her abilities, because we only get one fight scene with her training with the other Grisha hand-to-hand combat. It's like, I felt like her struggles trying to catch up with the other Grisha and harnessing her abilities was really rushed. So I think we could you know, kept one episode to figuring out how that happened. I don't like how it became very like chosen one-ish with the stag. Like, Elena mentioned how she always had these dreams about the stag. We see it through the flashbacks, which I really, really appreciate the flashbacks. How the stag was always in her dreams. She always dreamt of the stag. Even Mal knew about the stag because he recognized her drawing. And it felt, again, very convenient that it was there. And there are some things where I felt like either they weren't mentioned or I completely forgot about them because they were so small. But how, first of all, apparently Elena drew a picture of the stag and Genya stole it and gave it to the Darkling to give it to people. It's like, I didn't like that. It just felt really out of place. What I really did enjoy was how the interaction between the Darkling and Mal, it's like when they were by themselves in that one scene, how it's just two guys together, that tension. It's like, wow, this interaction between the two, because he was going to keep Mal alive to control Elena, and he's like, I don't have to kill you, Mal. Time will do that for me. And how Mal's like calling him out on everything. It's like, wow. And this also ties into, it's both a pro and a con, and the con to this scene was how we didn't know, because I don't know if Elena it felt like Elena didn't tell Mal, but he figured it out on his own, how the Darkling Kiergan was the Black Heretic, and he figured it out on his own, and he knew things about the old king. It's like, this, again, if it was a pro and a con, I like this interaction, but it's like, it felt like we were missing information as to how Mal figured out that he was the Black Heretic. So I enjoyed it, but that also brought me out of the moment. I don't know if I can put this as a con. It feels weird, because in the book, it made it sound like Mal was a really good tracker. He was just gifted in a way. And the show, I don't know. Is he a Grisha that we don't know about? Because Elena did make a very good point, which I really wholeheartedly agreed when she was talking to Kiergan about saying maybe I'm the only summoner, maybe they just don't want to be found. Is Mal a Grisha? Because he had this weird affinity when it came to tracking, especially the stag, on how to locate it. He always had this weird ringing of a bell that always alerted him to certain things. So were they hinting at Mal being a Grisha in the future of the books? Because if they are, cool. If not, it felt really weird and convenient for them to add into the book, into the show. And again, it just feels like a little bit nitpicky. The script, I enjoyed the script. There were some parts where it was loose, where I felt like they could got rid of some things, but also was meant to bring in the other cast. So I get that. They could probably tweak some things as well, but everything. And besides that, again, the cons, it feels like a little bit nitpicky, because the show was spectacular. I loved it and everything. It was just amazing. So again, there's more pros than cons, which I really enjoyed, which makes it mean that gets me really intrigued, really excited for the second season. So that was what you're supposed to do in the first season, get me curious. My curiosity has been raised through the roof. I would like to know what happens in season 2 very, very much. As for the other cast, for the Crows and Nina and Matthias, this is part 3, the other, option C, other. I love the Crows so much. I liked how they went nowhere with Nina and Matthias' story, but at the same time they went somewhere with it at the same time, how it tied in. I have a feeling, because the name Matthias does ring a bell. I think I've heard of him in the Grisha first, so I know that pertains importance to the story. The Crows. Oh my god, I had so much fun. And okay, this goes to pros as well as how they cut the scenes, how you can tell the difference between Elena and her people's scenes and She the Crows, how it just, the transitions were amazing. I love the Crows so much. I love Inej, I love Jasper, I love Kaz, and I liked the conductor when he was with them for the time being, because he kind of fit into their crew until like Kaz was able to easily sniff out his betrayal so much. I have questions pertaining to them so much. Are they Grisha? I mean, it's like they hint about certain things about them. Like, are they Grisha that they don't know about? And does the Darkling, does Kiergan and Kaz have a relationship? Because he knew Kaz's name when they met each other for that one time. It's like, do they know each other so much? And the question about how they're running their heist. Is this the Six of Crows book? Does this fall into the timeline as to what's going on in Shadow and Bone? Because I have curiosity all over right there. It's like, this is this like a side timeline thing? It's like, I'm just asking. But going to Nina and Matthias, I liked how Nina was just messing with Matthias, and he, again, she's right. I like it when you blush. Like, he was so cute. He was so adorable. Matthias. But if I had to give a ranking to good boy, good girl, best boy, best girl, and sweet boy and sweet girl, okay, good boy, he was a good boy, was David. David in the book, he was just that nerdy guy that was full into his work as a materiality. In the show, we saw his awkwardness. He was a good boy, especially when he interacted with the Crows. Like, I believe this is all of us book lovers would react in a way. And oh my god, the book he threw at Jesper, and he's like, he threw a book at me. It was the Shadow and Bone book, people. Don't say it wasn't. It was. But good boy was David. Good girl was Elena, because again, I just felt like she just gave off that vibe where anyone can get along with her. She was a good girl. Best boy, Jesper. Of course it's Jesper. Like, that energy he brought to the table. he was amazing. I really liked his character so much. Best girl, Inej, come on, people. Her with her stealthiness, her ability to fight, but also the conflict in her and the need to do this heist to make sure it was a success because she didn't want to go back to the menagerie. Awesome. Sweet boy belongs to Mal, because come on, he was a sweet boy. How he was with people, how he wanted to take care of the people that were close to him. He was a sweet boy. Sweet girl, Nina, I loved how she just like her interaction with Matthias, even though he might see us as betrayal, she saved his life. We have to agree with that at the end. She was sweet. Yes, she was spying and everything, but her interactions with Matthias, she wasn't afraid. She just loved being around him. Come on. And how everything tied in at the end, I was like, how is season 2 gonna go, people? I am intrigued. As you can see, I really like this show. This book was really good. I enjoyed the book. I enjoyed how it brought us into this world. The show, I like how it expanded on it. I still have questions, especially the country of Shuhan, because nothing was really mentioned about in the book. They kept throwing out the name, but they didn't show anything. We were all basically focusing on Fjorda and in the show Kitsam and Rafka. It's like that one country, still a mystery. But all in all, I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed the book. It was amazing. Shadow and Bone by Leigh Bardugo in the TV show. I give the book a 4 out of 5 stars. I give the show a 5 out of 5 stars. And altogether, as an adaptation, I give it a 4 out of 5 stars. My name is Sarah, and bye!